meeting started at 6 o'clock, so let's join me in this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, and go ahead and take roll.
Jeremy?
Here.
Samantha?
Here.
Ruby? Here. Greg?
He is attending the Jamboree and will be over here as soon as it's finished.
All right, Dory, can you explain the changes we have to the agenda?
Sure, we spaced the SHS presentation, and we do have a student rep here from leadership to present tonight. They haven't presented since May, and it just kind of fell off my radar. We have it on autopilot for the last couple months. So we do add that as a presentation. We also have a teacher from FCS, Lisa Hurley, who's applied to be on our bond oversight committee. And I offered, suggested to Samantha that she go ahead and ask her a few questions during the presentation time. But that application is up for action item tonight.
So we'll just add those two presentations, and that's it. So we're looking at approval of the consent agenda with those changes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote.
Yeah. Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Ruby?
All right, motion passes. And then with that, we move right into presentations. So our SHS presentation. Welcome to the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lorna. I would like to update you on some events happening at Sheridan High School. The leadership class is planning on our theme this year is Glamorous Learning. Our events will be held on Friday, October 24th. Tickets are going to go on sale in October. We are having a pep assembly on September 25th to recognize all sports and activities. Some program updates with music. Music has doubled in size since last year, and the first concert is Tuesday, October 14th at 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria. Soccer has their first game next week against Taft. Football has had 1 win and 2 losses. They have a bye week this week, and they'll be back strong next week at 10 a.m. Cross country has had 2 meets, and all athletes have new PRs. Zach David was a top runner last week. They are going to Messiah today. Volleyball had a great tournament on Saturday. They heading to the first league games this week. Sheriff has had the biggest team in a decade. They are ready to compete in all-state and league championships. FFA, their officers have left for leadership camp today for 2 days. They are going to grow closer to the team and develop leadership skills. Mr. Coyle is starting a gaming club and starts today and Saturday, Wednesday after school. Ms. Hanson is also starting a native club, meeting once a month during lunch to increase attendance because they tend to not last last year and want to increase that this year. Rotary is hosting an esports tournament on November 8th. This is for students grade 6 to 12. There is no cost for students to register. The winning prize money will be first place $300, second place $200, and third place $100. We have 32 spots available for this tournament. This is my report this month. Do you have any questions?
I think you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
You're a great speaker. Good job coming up here. I know I'm nervous. Very proud of you. Any questions about what's going on in the school?
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
School just started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so Lisa can come up and I will pull up my question.
Hi, so I'm Lisa Eppley. I'm the Title I reading teacher for K-5 at Faulkner Chapman.
Well, welcome. Thank you for applying for the Bond Oversight Committee. I just have two questions. They're the same ones I asked everyone else, and so we just kind of want to hear what you have to say. But sometimes we will make decisions that our community disagrees with within the Bond Oversight Committee. How do you see yourself as helping us positively mitigate those potential situations?
So I see myself as taking the information that I glean through our meetings and my understanding of why we're doing what we're doing and sharing that with others. Recognizing the fact that sometimes you can only do what you can do within certain parameters. And trying to help folks understand that there are guidelines or stipulations and they just have to be followed sometimes, or we're just not able to maybe meet what the expectation is. And sometimes that just has to be acceptable because there's only so much any of us can do.
Second question, what is your number one reason for applying to join the Bond Oversight Committee?
I've been with the district now, this is my 5th year. And what happens with this district is very important to me because it affects myself, it affects fellow staff members, it affects the students and the families. And so I want to be part of all of that, the community, the best I can.
Well, thank you for answering those questions for us. I'm so thrilled we got somebody to represent the staff. Yes, it's very much needed, so I'm excited for that perspective. All right. That's it. Jen, did we have any public input? Nope. Okay. Admin reports. Adam, you're up first. Yes.
So I first have to, all right.
Oh, yeah, we can do that, sure. For you, Pat, we can do that.
Thank you. It's hard to follow that. You can tell that students we are, so we fold the piece of paper and So I just want to give you some, we just obviously school just started, so just some quick updates. We welcomed 4 new staff to high school this year, and that's the largest amount of new staff we've had since I've been here. And so I just want to introduce you to Roman. That's actually his spelling here. It's called Alan, B-A-L-U-N, instead of B-A-L-U-N. He's our new dean of students. He comes to us from Zoloma School District. He was a TOSA in our alternative school there for the last 4 or 5 years. So he's been a great addition. He brings some really interesting stuff to our school, especially with our since I work with him, great success. He's going to be leading that workout, so I'm really excited for that. I'm Elias Polanski. He's our new health and PE teacher. He is a recent graduate from George Fox University, and did a student teaching at Newburgh High School. He also was a member of George Fox's football team when I was a student there. Taylor Down is our new English language arts teacher. She's new to career, but she is a career change. So she's her first year teaching. She's either teaching at Amity or student teaching at Amity High School. And then Jake Ruger comes to us from Newport School District. He's entering his 5th year of teaching. He's teaching social studies for us. Sharing some information about enrollment. I know Dory's going to talk more about that later. But I'm just give you an update right now, and we haven't done our 10 main rocks yet. That usually happens in September. But right now we have a large freshman class. Numbers even adjusted a little more since we have 62 freshmen enrolled at this time. 39 10th graders, 45 11th graders, and 43 12th graders. So we had a much larger freshman class than we did last year, but smaller senior class. 'Cause last year we had a pretty large senior class of about over 60 students, so those kids graduated out. Going back and looking at some historical data, that gives us an enrollment in high school right now of 191. Same date over the last couple of years. In 2022, we had 180. 2023, we had 195. Last year, we peaked at 210 at this time, and then now we're 191. So although it's a drop from the 210 last year, it does fit within that range of what we've seen over the last 4 years. It's just normalizing there. Some changes, these don't happen very often with graduation requirements for the state of Oregon. But we have 2 requirements to graduation, and that's a personal finance course and what they call the higher education career and career path skills, 25 credit the most of the semester course. The good news is when they announced theirs, there was no need to panic because we already did those things. They just weren't, one of them was required, the other wasn't. We didn't require personal finance. We offered it as an elective, and a lot of students took it. So we have actually had a lot of seniors who don't need to take it this year because they've already taken it. So that we offered in the second semester. And then the higher education career and career path skills falls under our senior focus, senior project class, meets the needs and standards of that. So no need to change anything other than to say to those seniors, you have to take personal finance, which is a good thing. It was funny because I remember when we were in high school, it was required. It was required for me back in the day. I was going to give a testing data update, but I went through and looked at data that we have, and a lot of data that we collected through our STARS. 2 of the teachers that were responsible for that testing are no longer with the district. And I was working with the teacher who's doing it this year, and we were having a hard time kind of muddling through it. And I did feel confident I'd rather give you good data that's accurate than bad data. So I'd like to have the opportunity to come back and share some more detailed information with that. A lot of our testing data in high school has come with a little bit of an asterisk with it because both the state testing that is required to participate in and the STAR system, we do them, but they're not a graduation requirement. So although the state requires them to take, they don't have to pass. It's not required for a diploma. So what we find, high school kids are savvy, and as much as we plead with them to take it seriously, there's a lot of to get through it. So we're looking at some data that's actually a little more applicable. And I was talking to Greg today about actual earning credits, because that's what our high school kids are working towards. So I'm putting together some data about how we're doing in our students and passing rates. So I'll share it next time. I think that's okay. And then our fall sports update, Lana, who is a fantastic kid. She's not here right today. I can tell you something about how I saved her life. But she gave a great update on all the sports. I just want to share some additional stuff. Obviously, last week was a rough week for the football team. There's a lot. We don't have a lot of kids out for football, and we've been playing with some injuries early on. So unfortunately, at halftime last Friday, we had to kind of throw the towel in because we frankly didn't have enough players. But we're coming, the bye week could not have come at a better time. So we do have 17 athletes that are participating in football. We play 9-man football at the 2A level, so it gives us just a handful of spare athletes there. So 17 playing football. But right now, because the season hasn't started for soccer, the OSA roster isn't quite as big. We have about 5 or 6 sharing athletes participating in girls soccer, and then we call up with Delphi and Moana to complete that team. Volleyball, they just had a tournament this last weekend, and then volleyball is going strong, 22 athletes, students participating in volleyball. And then our cross country, like she said, we're out today at a meet. We have 8 athletes participating in that. And they're all, like she said, doing great. There's some potential for some state representation. It looks like there's some time to sing early on. And then she said our cheer team is gangbusters. If you're at a football game, just saw it out there. We have a great youth program in this community, which only helps feed our high school programs. So, and they're not in a competitive season, for sure competitive season is in the winter. So I'll say, that's why they're shaking, they're going to Las Vegas in February, so. Anyway, that's what I've got. Any questions?
I was just curious what the holdup to get kids to go out for football is. Like, how many kind of started the last couple of years?
Yeah, we had a large group of kids participating last year, and they graduated, a lot of seniors. We didn't have a lot of juniors playing last year, and we don't have a lot of seniors playing this year. And I think we only have a handful of freshmen playing. They kind of expected that. I don't have, Mr. Coach Swinehart kids love him. Good culture right now, and I also wonder too, we were talking about this a little bit about, I know in conversations I've had with friends I have that have younger kids, safety concerns. There's kind of a little bit of a change on people's perceptions of football, as particularly the concussion data has become more and more prevalent. So I think that's probably playing into it as well. It'll be interesting to see how when this youth program here in this community, theater programs are key too. So that's why our cheer program is so strong. It's so strong. And you saw the littles out on the field, and they're starting to cheer at 3 years old. I don't want to start football at 3 years old, but falling around their helmets. But I think that's a big deal too. So that's a challenge that we face. So there's a lot of transitions.
Fair enough.
Cool. Questions? Any other questions? Probably get started playing that.
That's good.
Cell phones? Don't talk about it. We don't talk about my phone.
All right, Adam?
Good evening, everybody. I apologize for all the weather. I'm supposed to start again. Yeah, so just kind of a normal setup for this page. Talk a little bit about in-service this week. In-service had a great feel. We had a couple of minor things that we brought that were new to the table, but we didn't really reinvent the wheel on programs we didn't need to. We just built off of things we've done the last 2 years. So this, other than some rollouts, our new math curriculum adoption, and talking about our behavior management keyboard app and PowerSchool, it was really smooth in-service weeks. We had a lot of time for teachers to prepare. We did year 2 of the back to school night or in-service week, where it was more of a meet the teacher supply drop off. I polled the staff the last 2 years to see kind of, because there's always different opinions on doing it during school or before. And we were about 8% of folks going to do it during that in-service week. It's hard on a teacher to get the room ready that quick in the middle of an in-service week. But it's also really nice because you start to make those connections before your students walk in the door. So I thought that went really well, had really strong participation. 7th and 8th grade not so much, 6th grade still had a ton. We were also kind of new to the middle school games. So from there, talked a little bit about first week of school. It went very smoothly. I think Pat mentioned the C word with cell phones. No issues there, no major questions, nothing. It's been crickets on that front, which has been fantastic. We were just talking about this today. Hop right there into academics. We tomorrow we'll be completing our fall assessments for STAR. So that kind of week 2, week 3 is a lot of your baseline data testing periods. A lot of the first 2 weeks is just relationship building, connecting with your kids, getting your routines, procedures down, which is pretty key in K-8. So really this week is the first time we started really cracking into any curriculum once assessments were wrapped up. I'm a little late, so I was at the football jamboree out on the field, talking there about sports. Football in particular is a weird one, just going off what you guys said. It is massively down participation, like countrywide, especially in our region. My son goes to Dunaway Middle School. Dunaway 6A high school, they couldn't field a football team. They had to combine to make one team. Most of our league is now playing 9-man football because they can't field. We haven't had 2 teams in 10 years, like when I was coaching way back when. But we now are seeing, in fact, we were just playing Amity, who couldn't field the team, and Perrydale, who couldn't field the team, and they combined. So our jamboree game that I was just at, one end of the field was us playing Kansas side Perrydale. Gaston couldn't field the team. Yeah, it's just strange. So we had 24 kids out, which I thought we were gonna have 12. So that's fantastic. There's props to Mr. Brown and Skylar. Some of you guys know Skylar, probably been coaching for us for a few years. He has really got football back off the ground in our community. Youth program in the middle school. Tyler Sharp is one of the coaches for youth program. He's trying to take him on. Volleyball's always been big here. So volleyball, there's 30 plus girls out in the gym. We're running out of practice space. When I was in there the other day, it's going like gangbusters, strong youth program. And cross country as well. I think we're at 5 athletes, but don't quote me on that one. They got their first meet tomorrow. And so yeah, sports have kicked off really well. There was just a good injury on the field, that's why I was a little late. He was going to be okay. They had a leg injury, and I didn't give him anything else to get him out here. But he's with his parents, he's going to be okay. So you guys hear that later. That's why I was late, but everything's okay on the front. I talked a little bit about staff highlights. Just to highlight some of our new staff, to our horn, we did a good job hiring this year. The hiring pool was much stronger this year than I've seen since I've been an administrator. Unfortunately, a lot of districts had cut positions, and that made the hiring pool much deeper. We brought in 3 new teachers at 4th and 5th grade, so one at 4th, 2 at 5th. A halftime music teacher, and we added a civil science position. Those are certified positions. Each one of those teachers are doing a fantastic job. Dory walked classrooms with me today. We're very, very, very impressed. We also had a couple of classified hires on a ton this year, but the couple that we brought in, especially the Spanish department, coming in as a one-on-one, that can be a challenging job, but they're doing fantastic as well. Really connecting with the kids right away. Taylor in particular, I saw today, has her friend that she spends a lot of the day with, just connecting to her at the hip, little smiles on her faces. So it's been, knock on wood, a fantastic kickoff to the very first year staff members. Talked a little bit there about the upcoming items. PTO meetings are Thursday, so it's tomorrow night. It's always fun since tonight after this meeting. Halloween's gonna be weird this year. I know we always have our traditional Halloween parade on Halloween, but with conferences shifted this year, it'll be much earlier than we. So our meeting will be Tuesday, even though Halloween's Friday. And the conferences are at Wednesday, Thursday, so. Also brought in a star report from last year, just so we can check that out a little bit. I'll pull it up, so I can't read that anymore. On the left, you have reading and math, and the comparison here is just fall to spring, which is pretty standard. What you're looking at here is the change for the number of kids that were on grade level in the fall to are now on grade level in the spring. So they've moved themselves into an on grade level or above grade level category. The urgent intervention is the bottom 10% nationally. So the left side is what they came into us as. The right side is have we reduced the number of kids within that kind of time frame. And that's really commonly used in most TSS programs. Really, are you moving more kids into your higher categories? Are you moving kids away from your lowest categories? It's kind of how to keep a pulse on your system. Caveat with first grade is they do 2 different tests. They start with early literacy. They switch over to reading halfway through the year. That's common on all these assessments. So you can kind of see there pretty standard numbers as far as what we typically move. It's really hard for us to judge this with our mobility rate, right? That's when a quarter of your kids renew all year, every single year, how do I know if I'm moving the needle or not? But I'll show you on the next page a breakup of that. But what you're looking there is on the left, are we shrinking our urgent population, and then are we increasing our on-grade level population? And then what will happen is kids will go into summer. Our summer job, I did this years ago, 10 plus years ago, so it could be changed, but Our silver drop's about 3 times that of your average Starlight district. Because what we also can do, these are achievement numbers, but we measure growth numbers as well. That cohorts kids to score kids all over the country. And so you can see, are they growing more, are they dropping more? We grow more than your average school, we drop much more than your average school over summer with our new clients we serve. So you can kind of see each reading on the left, math on the right. Generally, your tendency you're going to notice is reading is growing at a faster rate than math. Also, we have a core reading program we adopted that we paid a lot of money for that's working. Math, we just now adopted. So it could be better. It's okay. It could be better. You'll see here in a month when the state test report comes out, it's going to mirror this type of movement. Again, this is achievement. What I can't show you right there is growth. Growth is what we actually care mostly about. Because I don't, let's say, Ruby comes into class in the fall and she is very low. She's deep red. I might have taught the heck out of Ruby and moved her out of red, but either way, when she took that state test, she's level 1. Doesn't look like it did anything. But what we can see through some of these assessments is compared to her like peers, we grew her 80% better than everyone who was like her. Starlight's a CDAT, state test testing. So as we go through this course of the year, we'll compare achievement, this, and then we'll go side by side with growth, where we can see our moving needle on the kids. The bottom one is a nice report that tells a partial story. Here's what it is. This is one group of kids over 3 years. So the bottom there, on the top section, the bottom bar is second grade. You see that? That group of kids is second graders. When they came to us in the fall, that's what they look like. In third graders, that's what they look like. As fourth graders, that's what they look like. What we're looking to do is shrink our red population to our green population, right? So you can kind of see through that one cohort of kids how that bar is moved. Now here's the big caveat here. A new kid that's come in has affected that data. Over 3 years, half of those kids are different because we have a mobility rate of 27%. So you can kind of see the number of students on the far right, 34 to 47, whatever that is, 58. You can see the number of students is changing. You can also, we're looking for tendencies as best we can given the population is changing. Next box down is the exact same thing, but it's the next grade up. So that was then as third, and then as fourth, and then as fifth graders. Idea here is over the course of time, we will get more and more kids on grade level and less kids in grade. In general, I can't tell you specifics because we don't have a program to measure it. The longer kids with us, the better they're going to do. Our problem and the thing we're constantly chasing is they're not going to with us consistently. Our ins and outs are a little bit increased. When we get them, when we keep them, we can move the wheel. But getting them to keep them is out of our control sometimes. I think that's about it for me. I'm happy to answer your questions.
What is the average class size for K5 right now?
K5, kindergarten group's really small. And that's, little mine is 20-something, we're at 30-something. I'm told that most schools are all really, really small. The rest of the grades, I would say we're sitting anywhere between 18 to 24 kids in the classroom. Kindergarten's at 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. We have a couple of kids that sort of heavy part of their day in a specialized setting, getting their disability needs. So yeah, I would say K5 total, you're probably sitting at 17, 18 ones, 19 ones, rough estimate.
And then any word on how the math curriculum is going? I know it's very new, but very early on, I was curious.
It's going well. For 3, 4, 5, it's trickier because it's new. It's away from something we've been using for about 12 years. So the online part is well because what we were using before. The paper pencil curriculum, they're on day 2 of it. So I can tell you the 4th and 5th grade teachers love it. 3rd grade teachers like it, but a little more trepidation because they were really used to it. The K2 is a re-adoption of what we were already using. So there's some new features. So some of the stuff we did in service this week was exploring the new features. They use a teaching model that basically is really heavy on discourse, a lot of talking. He's got to talk about math, model math, explore, and then they get taught the specifics. But it's a lot different than when we were all kids, where it's like, hey, here's this algorithm, do it 200 times. Now it's like, here's 5 ways, kind of figure out what works best for you. So I would say the kicker here is going to be the transition from second to third, and how we bridge that gap. Used to be 5th to 6th. You got 6th grade, it was old school style, and that K-5 was this conceptual, and then created the gap. So, so far, good. We have a webinar 2 Fridays from now for K2. I did a PD session for both groups. I need to do another PD session for 3-5 with the company. So I expect first semester to be bumpy in 3-5, and I just expect second semester, especially with a lot of member teachers in the group, to be really short. It's a stronger tool to meet what they're going to be asked to do in school. Now it's just building their skills.
Do you have any data, like the reading that chart was like the second one doing that would follow along with the math?
Yeah, that math's on the right. Oh, you mean above the math?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can print those. I just didn't happen to copy and paste them in here. But yeah, I can understand what they're doing. Yeah, that's called a longitudinal report. And it follows the proof. Yeah, we wrote.
So at one point, you were talking about putting together a group of kids that aren't as mobile. So kids that you just shared in this talk year after year after year, maybe not the entire time, but just so you can see the data in comparison to the really mobile kids. How do you have the opportunity to do that?
We started in on that project. Kale picked it up, got it going. He was doing it by hand. He was literally going, run the report from the fall to spring, because it's not a platform that would do it for us, and we got tired of just asking. When he moved on to a different position, Lane picked that up, and she and I met a little bit in spring, where she started running some of those at the individual level. So we had the start of it for one or two cohorts of kids. So I think it was like first, second, third. This year's current third, this year's current fourth. But it's at the individual student level. We don't have it here where I can just show you everybody. Right. But yeah,
But you'll get there.
oh yeah, we're getting there. It's just really time consuming.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it by hand. But yeah, we're getting there.
That'll be interesting information once we see it.
Yeah. I can tell you generalities off memory. When kids are here, they do well. When they don't, we move a lot more kids into the green if they can stay in the system.
And the other component too, that we can't factor into that are the students that are maybe out for 8 days and come back. So they don't have great attendance, but they're still with us. And the rule that we put in place to be part of that cohort group was if you were a 10-day drop, you were out of the cohort. If you moved in, you were not added to the cohort. So we manually do that, but it doesn't really factor in what we would, first, or say what would be ideal is that we also have the percentage rate for those first graders, second graders, third graders, as they move through their attendance rate.
Their attendance, yeah, that makes sense.
So then we can see what does their attendance look like compared to how they're doing.
Right.
But my suggestion, we do have a board work session coming up in October, and I haven't had a chance to really talk about the agenda. One of the topics we can do is just more information on student data. Because then we would have more, and I would have some state testing data. I believe it would be really splendid. So just a suggestion.
Yeah, and I had one more question for you, and you may or may not have an answer to this, but how do we mitigate that summer backslide that you were talking about? Like, it's excessive, but how do we, I mean.
You get a hot button topic for me.
You make all this growth and then we backslide, so.
In the dream world, which I can this current summer, we would track kids who participated in their summer programs versus kids that didn't. It's, all the national research is night and day. I mean, night and day. Kids don't go to school for 3 months, and who knows what's happening at home, that's out of our hands. So really, we have summer programs. Those programs should be literacy focused. Literacy is the big key. You have to keep reading, you got to keep structured instruction. Math will come alongside it, they say, if you get the literacy, and say, ideally both. But we had a summer program this summer, we qualified. The state uses a lovely formula that I'm not a huge fan of, so it's a football point every year. The year before, we didn't qualify. The year before that, we did. So when we get summer programs, we mitigate it. We gotta keep kids engaged in something. some people, I know like Benville and Dallas tried sending books home. Spent a lot of money on buying books, getting them in kids' hands, it's not that much of an effect. Because we're just not in control, you know, we can't control what we can't control, so. In my opinion, some of the programs make a difference when we can be funded to do. And from what I was told at the state level at our last meeting, it's hit and miss every year. It's one of the first things on the button, unfortunately, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Do we ever get any kind of trusting data, I guess, as far as like why kids leave the district? I mean, if your parents move, that's one thing, that's kind of, but like, are there issues that are making them leave?
I can only tell you the tendencies we've noticed. A lot of district hopping, school management, you know, we have a pretty high population of unstable housing kids who might be doubled up with a family, might just, you know, we live month to month where they happen to be living. We do have sober living apartment complex, which is great, but also isn't meant to be a forever home. And I'll be honest, in the 20 years I've been here, it's pretty much always been a high mobility rate. But I couldn't tell you more than just what happened, to be honest. Yeah.
I have one more question too. You mentioned rolling out the behavior management extension for the school management system. Is that a new program or is that something you've been practicing already?
This is the first question.
The behavior management extension of your school?
Yeah, we switched the way we track. And so we had a multitude of programs that a lot of schools use. The K-1 and 2 was using Costco, which are pretty heavy. 3, 4, 5 were a little bit more on just whatever the management system room was. And then we kept track of all the data and referrals on the PBX rewards system. With our secondary Power School, we got an add-on that goes with Power School. It has the same fee, it has the little avatars and the points and stuff that Costco didn't have. It has the referral tracking the PBX rewards have, and it has a lot more bells and whistles. So the new thing there is how do we track, how do we communicate, how do we use the tool? Can we all use the same tool so a parent doesn't go, wait a minute, I got these same things for each thing. So yeah, a lot of it's more of a logistical. The referral officer today, all of our ESP violations are issued loans, versus those tied to our issued loan policy. I can now track it within there or eliminate it before. So now it's a behavior, I can go note it and say what I communicate with families. It's just cleaner, simpler. And it'll be a lot easier to run data. So now I can run a report and say, how many ESP violations, what grade, what time of day, are we seeing the pattern in here? So it's just a little clearer to do.
Is that something that's been tracked through Dojo and through?
Not through Dojo well, Dojo is much more on the classroom level.
Yeah.
Yeah, PBIS rewards, we can track where pretty well. That's the gym, we keep seeing referrals out of the indoor recess days or whatnot, but we couldn't get much deeper into that. Where with the new tool, right, it's gonna grow pages we're all using, right? Yeah, I can get a lot deeper. When you're supposed to pick up hard for substitutes, you realize that they're gonna have to rotate with pencils and stuff. But, yeah.
Any other questions for Adam? Sorry, you don't feel well.
That's okay.
Thanks for coming though.
Yeah. Thank you. Please sit right next to me. Missy spent all day and avoiding the other end. Her daughter came back next weekend.
All right, next up is our superintendent report. Evening, September superintendent report. As mentioned earlier about the personal electronic devices, and Tanya, Ruby, and I met, and we had our policy meeting. The first of many, I'm sure, that we're going to have this year. Key points, the policy that is in your packet tonight for approval. We followed requirements from the state to ensure the policy met those, and OSB, of course, gave us a great template to go by. The definition is in there, prohibits the use, clarifies how they're going to be stored during the day, and we went with the language that already fit what our schools were doing. So, what is in place right now is that students are allowed to keep their cell phone with them as long as they do not have it out. So we are not taking it from them, we're not having the high school be responsible or FCS be responsible for storing the cell phones. They do have the option when they walk into a classroom to put it in a pocket that's like the calculator pockets. And so if they feel like I'm gonna be distracted, I'm just gonna do this right now. And several, students decide to do that. And then if they have it out, then it becomes a disciplinary action. And then that's when the office steps in. The actions are in the policy of, they landed on a 3-step process. And then there are the exceptions in policy, medical providers order, student IEP or 504. And excludes the time when the students are not on school grounds. And we talked about this, about if they're on a field trip, if they're under the instruction of a school employee, then they shouldn't have their cell phones out. Was the parameters that we put in there. Ruby or Nicole, anything you want to add to this?
I think you covered pretty well.
Okay, we went through it a lot. Okay, enrollment's already been talked a little bit about tonight. I made a note. I can do a class size report for next month so that you can see class sizes. So we're gonna see the difference here in our kindergarten class, and that is the large drop that we have this year in our K-5, down 22 students, 24 of which are kinders. And then we also just noted the number that SHOPA has. And I have invited our SHOPA leaders to come and present. I believe it'll be like November probably, when they will come and present their data. Then middle school, see the numbers there, down 5. In a comparison of September to September. And then our high school. Now, the number I have is different because we've had some students enroll. So this is still weather fluid until we get to October. So in October, I can do a class size report plus just total enrollment, so you can see that.
So this after the 10-day drop or before?
No, this is before. This was last Friday. So we've gained some, but again, it's that smaller class coming in, it's in the class.
But overall, we're down.
We are down significantly, and Karen and I have talked about that. We're down probably about 50 students right now. So we're gonna be monitoring that this school year and seeing how we do. By our long-range facility plan, we were anticipated to do a slow decline,
Right.
definitely not a growth. But when it comes to our state school fund, definitely our enrollment is a major factor that will hit us next year. So we need to keep a close eye on this as we go through this year.
Could you potentially get some data from surrounding schools too, as they get their 10-day drop and just kind of compare like percentages? Like, we're not only on losing this percentage, but so is everyone else, or maybe they're not. I don't know. It would be interesting to see. Those are surrounding neighborhoods.
Is it a birth thing or is it a everybody go to the other districts thing?
Right.
Right.
And I've heard, I actually have a state regional superintendent meeting tomorrow, and I think enrollment's gonna come up. I know the Dallas School District had enough of a drop of enrollment to close the school. And high schools across the state have just been steadily dropping in enrollment. But I can find that out from just our region to say, hey, where are we at in those in the class groups going through.
Can we also see varied enrollment for SHOPA? Because I'm just curious to see with the cap removal.
Yeah.
If
More
some
people
of that-
shifted.
Yeah. And then, do you know if in our long-range facility plan, we have that in mind with the SHOPA cap removal? If,
That was really thought out.
yeah, but I think that happened before we made the.
Yes. Mhm. Now, there is a percentage of SHOPA's enrollment that we keep because we are the sponsoring district. And certainly in another board meeting, Karen can show, and I think that you'll see some of the numbers of the checks that go to SHOPA on the amount, but it would be interesting, we'll kind of a breakdown of that, of what the district has, and then, it covers some of the costs of some of the time that we have for managing a charter. They still have questions to talk to them about when they visit too. So I've got class size report, Shoppa enrollment, and it's like there's one other, what was it? Was it one other thing to report on next month? Oh, and then just
surrounding districts.
Oh, regional. Okay. Got it.
And if Shoppa is seeing an uptick in people, like why, I guess is what I kind of like, why are we,
Well, I think we
what makes somebody go to Shoppa versus
Right.
the public system?
we anticipated more growth because we removed that cap. So we didn't know how quickly they would grow though.
They're up to about 380, I think.
And what were they last year, 3?
Oh, I think, no, I think it was under 3. Their cap,
Their cap was 3, right? Oh, so almost 100 kids probably.
No,
Big growth.
no, they had more.
They were over 300 before we got.
Yeah,
I thought 300.
they were at like.
It was, but they were, I think, at 350.
We don't
have those numbers.
And the thing is like, when it comes to state school fund, enrollment, there's enrollment, but then it also depends on ADM. So if you enroll a student, you say, oh yeah, I got a kid here, but if that student only attends like 2 days a week or whatever,
Oh,
then we only count their
for a
ADM.
partial.
So yeah, so even though we've got 100 kids, maybe our ADM is only 250.
I get it.
So that's kind of the thing we have to remember when we're looking at Shopper's numbers and stuff, and that's what they say, they're like, but I've got 350 kids, but
But
they're
some of
not.
those kids only take a couple classes.
And maybe one kid comes in for 5 days and leaves, and then another kid comes in and stays, so it just,
Yeah.
everything else is totally fluid.
Jordan, we also look at a homeschool rate, I don't know if you can
Yes.
guess enrollment for the
The ESD, Families New Homeschool, I register with ESD, and then I'm surprised I don't have it already.
Yeah.
Because every fall, we get the count of how many are homeschooled. It's been around, I want to say 70, the last, 2 to 3 years, so.
And that's
As
just
a
shared
district.
in the district,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Has it been right?
Yeah.
I will find out.
We'll know soon.
And I feel like we just did this enrollment thing for when we had to do all that stuff. Because we got part of that. So it might be right.
We had to present our enrollment and demographic breakdown. All right. Bond update, so RNC held a mandatory meeting for architect engineer companies that wanted to complete the proposal and submit it. Technical proposals are due the 24th. If necessary, they will conduct the interviews and then they will award the contract. This room is packed. I was really, really surprised at the number of companies that showed up. And Sean and I took them on a tour. We went into the high school science room. We talked about the entry of the high school. We went up to the old gym. We showed them, the choir room, band room. And then we even went back into the storage and old locker rooms. We took them all through that. And they were taking pictures and asking great questions. And it was a good tour. Good group. It'll be interesting to see how many companies apply to the RAE. And then the necessary documents for the Awesome Grant have been submitted. And I believe we have received those funds. Did you say you had the Awesome Grants and items?
Yes, we got the sub-grant award notification.
So moving forward with that. And also I will say that our bond website has been updated. Elaine is going to continue to update that. So if anyone wants more information, you go to our website. And then in the corner, you're going to see bond 2025. All right, before we get to questions and or comments, I provided a handout and I meant to have it as a tab so that I could show anybody online and those in the room. So if you give me 2 seconds and I'm going to find it. But you have an update on Barbara Roberts Career Tech Center.
Also, while she's doing that, Emily and I met with the RNC, the project management people, and we went over like the budget process and, you know, how we're gonna get invoices and getting paid. It's very, like, dialed in, and hopefully it will be smooth. Not too overwhelming.
All right, and our update on Barbara Roberts. This in here. So, as many of you know, we have been working on this project since 2021, and it felt like we had stalled since about February 23. I testified 3 different times to Ways and Means requesting funds from the state. We have not received any funds. Abisha Stone was sat down, and she's like, "What do you need?" And we brainstormed. I said, "I don't have that document, that booklet to say, this is the mission and vision of the Barbara Roberts project." We also did not have secure commitments from the regional districts. And she's like, "Okay, I'm on it." So we brought together this core team. We have met twice. We went to a dry erase board and literally just put everything on the dry erase board of, these are the gaps that we have. And I said, the biggest gap, and I continue to hear from people, is that this is still perceived as a Sheridan School District project and not a regional rural tech. Abisha has scheduled, she's already held 1 meeting with the superintendents, and I will say I had a very nice phone call with the superintendent of Perry Dale, who just said, "Dora, you've been carrying this and we need to step in and help you." And they all want this to be successful. We are getting them on board. Another meeting is scheduled with the idea, and this is where I want to lead in this report, and this update, is that if we move to an executive council with 1 or 2 board members from each of the regional districts, so that we have it as that is the executive council and not just our Sheridan team. What I'm going to need from the board down the road is possibly to go to those boards and present and start to recruit that. Once we get this a little bit more rounded, and that's going to be in a couple more months. But you can see here my conversation with Abisha. We had to strategically prepare for the legislative session. I feel like we've just been spinning our wheels. As Samantha has said in previous meetings, we needed to be that noisy person, the squeaky wheel. Thank you. We needed to be the squeaky wheel, and we were not meeting with the right people. So we're really trying to figure out who are the movers and shakers, who's on Ways and Means, who do we need to set meetings with and get our voice heard at the Capitol in the legislative session. If I could figure out a way to get to the governor's office, I would. CTE in Oregon is one of the lowest funded. Oregon CTE is the others. Oregon CTE is one of the lowest funded in the nation. It is one of the most expensive things we do, and yet it is the biggest need we have. We are not rightfully preparing our students to enter into living wage jobs in the industries that need them. So this is where we're headed. Move away from this perception that it is only a Sheridan School District project to a regional CTEC. I've had multiple meetings where people are like, where are the other superintendents? Why are you the only one? We are bringing them in and saying, it's time now. This is more than a letter of commitment. We need you at these meetings, and we need you meeting with people. Create the mission and vision statement, move to an executive council with key representatives. So then my update, and this is just in the last couple of weeks. We've had 1 meeting with regional superintendents, the second one is next Wednesday. We have a draft version of a vision statement. This is what we want from this program. Again, this is draft, and I could see this being draft until we form an executive council with a charter and we move forward. Preparing for the 26th legislative session, meeting with Representative Elmer Sharp and Senator Starr. We are trying to get that scheduled in November, December, and I would like the 2 board members to attend that meeting. I'm meeting with Commissioner Johnson next week and discuss the status of the project. I've also scheduled a meeting with Sheridan Fire District, 2 of their key leaders, to discuss EMT training for students so we can get that going. And I received an email from Jeremy, the principal of Willamina, and they scheduled a meeting with us to talk about in partnership of firefighting EMT training, so that we can get that started. Getting creative for a small start.
I would be interested in combining that talk with Willamina about their current CTE programs as well.
Yes.
And if we would be able to work and already show an agreement that's functioning with students.
Mhm.
Because they have that whole shop program that's thriving.
Yes, definitely. And I was excited to hear from them. It's like, hey, do you want to partner? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to jump
That's
on that.
been a big hurdle for us, so that's really exciting.
So I am, as I'm going through this in just the last couple of weeks, thinking of where our key times of having the board attend these meetings, and I'm going to need to know just availability. I believe it's on your other handout for the committees. I don't have the committees in my head. I think it's Samantha and Jeremy for Barbara Roberts. Oh, 3, okay. In case somebody's not available, and Ruby also. And so, as I start to work on this over the next couple of months, and really it's off shop, which is great, and I would like to have her come in and present as well. But, we will be bringing back more people, but before it was with the architect and project manager, and I just felt like we just weren't getting anywhere. So, in conversations with people when we're either requesting funds, and by the way, we do have a potential donation on the way for Barbara Roberts. So I'm excited about that. For our newer board members, I did want to take a minute to explain this team. Avishai Stone works for SEDCOR, that is Strategic Economic Development Corporation. She is the person for Yamhill County. And you hear her name a lot. She knows what she's doing, and it was just a load off my plate that she goes, Dory, I got this. We're gonna get this done. Craig Brockett is taking our Future Ready grant, and he's on a limited contract that will expire in June. The Future Ready grant is $500,000 just for manufacturing. But we felt like he was key because he's done so much. He has met with other CTE programs. He's been to Newburgh to visit Tiger Manufacturing. He has just been all over. And he has come up with a scope and sequence, not for project-based, but for actual standards-based manufacturing and moving forward. And we have those documents he's been working on, and I would like to, he will come back and present to the board as well. And we're getting ready to get some equipment going on that. Elaine Berg, District Communications, so she's doing the Barbara Roberts website, keeping that going. She's updated all of our contacts to make sure we're organized with that and who we're going to be reaching out to. Elaine Navarro, very limited hours, but they're grant writers. And what I'm learning from Elaine is that until we have a significant chunk of funding in for construction, other foundations, other nonprofits will not jump in. They will not be first. The goal is if we can go to the state legislature and get $10 million, we can fill that gap, hopefully, with other funds that we get to the $14 million for phase 1. And then Jim Severson, I know Jim from my doctorate program at George Fox. I was super excited to hear that he was hired by the ESD. I've met with him a couple of times. He's transitioning into the being director of secondary programs and CTE. We need the support of the ESD for this project. That's been the other missing component. So I plan to schedule another meeting with Dr. Normark, the superintendent of the ESD. They went to the state legislature last year and did a really big ask, and it got whittled down to a small amount to go to ESDs to act as a type of a hub, meaning that they would prepare to go for a bigger ask. And it just felt like this was one more setback. So you can't hear my frustration. This has been 4 years of feeling like we just don't have enough traction and we need to do something different. So this is the direction that we're heading at this point, and it won't be long, and we will have the wording for each of our pathways. We'll have the full handout. Elaine's great with all those graphics, the website has been updated, we're working on preparing the Sheridan Education Foundation to receive, donation amounts, because that is our nonprofit. So, more updates will be coming, and I would also suggest this would be a topic for a board work session, so that we can dive deep into this. But I anticipate in the coming months going to, one or two of you at a time, going to their board meetings and presenting, encouraging participation.
I'm down for that.
Okay, I figured you would be. It's needed to happen, it needed to happen 2 years ago. And, this is, I'm an instructional leader, and I loved hearing how Adam was talking with passion about the data and the students, and I love walking in classrooms today. This is a completely different project that is not exactly in my strength, and we really need to get this pushed forward. We're storing so many items, we're storing a fire tower. And we have a gap that we need to get the funding so we can get the fire tower installed and show that we are moving towards getting this.
Where is the fire tower?
It's down on the property.
Oh, okay.
It's able to be stored on the property. We have a gap of about 400,000 to get it installed because of all the site work, water drainage, everything that we would need to do.
The site looks really nice.
And it's very user friendly on the website, so.
I like that the financials are all broken down.
mhm.
You can see where the money's going. So that's been a question I've got lately from
Yes.
people in the community, is what's going on over there? Where did the money go that you got?
Right. And it's hard to show all the work that goes into getting a full set of construction plans.
Right.
And I had no idea of all the testing, all the small contracts, all those meetings, the full set of construction plans.
The drilling we had to do, all the stuff cost money.
And we're still trying to have donated the surcharge rock. Because if we got that in, that needs to sit and settle before we can get that building going.
So the property, okay?
The surcharge rock, we tried to get a donation from Knife River, and we went to another dead end there. So we sent a whole proposal, it's really difficult to find a real person at the corporate level. Craig was actually gonna try, Elaine Navarro talked to her neighbor, who used to work for Knife River. We have one parent that I'm aware of that works for Knife River. And we are open for any suggestions of how to talk to Knife River about a donation of surcharge rock. That application was submitted over a year ago, and we heard nothing from them, not even a knowledge receipt of an application for a donation. Okay, I was really sorry. Okay, and that is my report for tonight. Questions or comments?
Question, how long do we have Elaine work? Because she's doing phenomenal work.
We have a couple of smaller grants that she's up to 15 hours a week, and it just kind of ebbs and flows of what is needed that week. Graphic organizers, the website, she is so fast and even things with the reader board. I meet with her weekly for about an hour. But yes, Karen and I are in agreement that we will figure out a way to keep her.
She's grant funded right now.
But we had a Ford Family Foundation grant that was wide open of whatever we needed it for, it was $25,000. And we were just chipping away at that for now. We did write in a little bit of the manufacturing grant of communications. So there's just different pieces, like, oh, let's just put a little bit here, let's put a little bit here, so we can just keep it going.
Is she doing the Barbara Roberts website too?
Yes.
Then, okay. Yeah.
She's doing all the websites, she does her Facebook page for Sheridan School District.
Yeah, which has been phenomenal.
She's introducing all our new staff members on social media, which is great. She is wanting pictures of our students, and of course we make sure that they're cleared for publicity. But that's one of the things we talked about yesterday, is how to get more pictures out there of our students. Yes, definitely a great asset we plan to figure out just through different grants and ways that we can keep her going.
Just the usability of our website is phenomenal for what it was.
And I will pass that on to her.
All right. Any other questions, comments, or words?
This is cool, I like this. It's really easy to follow. Good, straightforward.
We're put it together.
Yes, it dawned on me that things were moving, and it's like, oh, we just really need to update the board because we are moving along and we're gonna need more help. So, but it is a different, if you talk to anybody in the public, this is a regional project. And in fact, we are starting to remove the Sheridan School District logo off of the Barbara Roberts documents. And in fact, if we do ours, we put all the districts on. It's what has to happen, and we didn't start out that way, unfortunately. And it is really causes some additional hurdles.
We have kind of a map somewhere that shows kind of here's all the region that's gonna cover this, or that's gonna have access to it.
That'd be really good.
That would be good.
So that somebody could look themselves and go, hey, well, I fall into that, I'd love to do that.
That's a great idea.
And basically, I look at what's 30 minutes away. You know, the other
Make a circle.
big circle and what districts are in there, and then those are the ones that we are working with right now, currently. McMinnville has a very large CTE program. This is intended for our rural districts that have one or two. And maybe don't have that ability to go really deep. And again, some of the CTE programs are very project-based. We're gonna build this, we're gonna build this. What I've learned from Craig is at the state level, there's a whole sequence of skills within a beginning in manufacturing. I do not know these terms, but you lay out that these are the things you have to learn first. And I'm sure Jeremy, you would know, and then you have to learn this, and it's build on build on build. And then you get to industry certification. So it's leading to something, not just, we're gonna build this, and then we're gonna move on and build this. It's a different approach.
Yeah, because that's a big part of a lot of the programs I've heard is you leave it with a certification of some sort, that you graduate high school and you're ready to be that, you know, an ACU mechanic or something like that, or.
Which I think is always been our goal, is every pathway to lead with some sort of certificate, or multiple, depending on what the pathway is. Give them a handout to get into the career that they're going into. The field.
So we might want to, for October, that work session coming up, this would be another topic we can sit and discuss and strategize on. And I can see if Abisha would be available for maybe the first half, or however we want to organize that, but definitely that would be a good time to continue.
I think doesn't the work reach all the way down to Salem for some of their programs as well?
I don't know, the other one that I'm aware of is the Alignment Career Academy, it's over on Lancaster Drive, and that is Jervis, Martin Marion, Mount Angel, Cascade. Those students have the opportunity to go to that CTEC.
Newburgh was accessing it.
Okay.
Yes, that's a pretty good circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea to have a map.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. Crystal, Karen, what you got going on?
There's too much money in this program.
Let me write it down.
Yeah.
I'm gearing up for the first big payroll of September. We finish up open enrollment for medical benefits. And handle some people to get that done, but, so I have to go in and update everybody's selections and their deductions and all that stuff. And then, make sure all of the contracts are correct. And so I did, the overview, I mean, it's gonna change, obviously, because I will be going in and, after I do payroll, I'll encumber everything for the rest of the year, so we'll get a better look at, what the line items look like. Because it depends on what people choose for their medical and they opt out and all that kind of stuff. So, let's see. And then,
Go back up to your agenda so you can see and talk through it.
the appropriations review, I was thinking about this as I was doing it. The reason I put this one in is because those buckets, the appropriation buckets, are what we appropriated in our budget. And so we have to stay within those buckets. And so that's what the little check is. If the check goes red, then I know that we might overspend in that bucket, and so that's why then I'll do like a budget transfer or, cut some costs or something like that. So that's why this one is being here. in case anybody was wondering. And then, there was a message going around on one of my listservs about, people were saying, well, what kind of like, when I do check registers, people were saying, what do you do? And like, there was hardly anybody who said, oh yeah, we do all the checks, like, we do. Someone said, well, a couple of people said, we just basically do any check that's over $10,000, we'll print that out. So that's kind of what I did on this list, and I don't know if it's helpful or not, or if you just want me to still do all the check register. I don't care, I just was, trying to streamline things.
I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
This was kind of brought up, the check register, which I didn't realize it did until the first meeting. Was brought up at the finance, thing in Salem. And they said it's kind of silly because it's just like a massive dump of data that maybe nobody ever really looks at. So as kids, I wonder if anybody used that for any kind of action? Or is it just a giant page that we're making her put together to put in a packet that nobody looks at very close?
I don't think you really have to put together, it's just a document that you upload.
Yeah, it's a report. Yeah, it's a report. I mean, it's still-
So it's like, I don't know, if nobody's looking at it, it's not efficient,
Yeah,
Over
that's kind
the years, we have had a lot of questions from it.
not really. I mean, it's like,
I feel like I ask questions on this, yeah.
But
Everybody asks questions occasionally on like, what's this, or who's this person, or
Right.
are we writing this check to this
Yeah.
person?
yeah.
If it's helpful, yes, we can continue doing it. If you feel like something like this, or if you want to set the amount, but we want to see checks that are written over a certain amount. And Karen and I have been talking about this, is what's going to be helpful for the board, what do you want to see? I monitor and I watch the general fund report of the other one, of this one. And I'm looking, it's like, okay, where are we at? Like, this is gonna change. Where's our income balance at? Because as Karen's explained, when we set our budget as a plan, we sometimes have buckets we don't use, or we go over here, and so then she's making those adjustments. So, it's just what's gonna be helpful for the board. If you want the full check register, you can do that, some version of this.
Yeah, it's a lot less noise, like little small checks here and there that are kind of, they just become noisy kind of.
And it's basically payroll stuff. I mean, the HRA, IRS, PERS, so, I don't know. Anyway.
Well, and the other thing, Karen, we've got S&P Global here for ratings, but that comes out of bond funds.
Yes, I haven't moved it yet.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Exactly, yeah.
So when I, and I end up approving some things, and I make sure I know, remember, this comes out of this grant.
Yeah.
And we were given approval that some of our costs, if it fell under the bond language that the voters approved, we can go back to, I think it was February or January, and reimburse ourselves out of bond funds for those costs. And it wasn't a ton, but still, it would help our general fund. And
Do you have an example of that?
that could be tight.
Like the HVAC, but-
The HVAC unit was 30,000.
Okay.
But
So
I
that would fall
don't,
under
I don't know that we did that.
I thought we paid for it in February.
We have to look at that one.
Okay.
And
It
also,
was
It
early.
was right on the line.
Yeah, it was right
Because
on the
went out in
line.
December, because it was really cold.
and I was thinking that we just said we're gonna have to set this one up because it wasn't.
Right.
And I also, I couldn't remember if it fell under our bond, like one of the bond projects.
HVAC units are listed there. I'm pretty sure. And then the other was the fire panel for FCS. We replaced the fire panel before school started.
Okay, so that should fall under it.
I mean, obviously, this is
But Karen,
I
Sean and
don't
I,
makes me nervous, but
we'll take a look at that.
What makes me nervous just because is it what was detailed, specified in what we were gonna spend money, or it just so happens to fall, right? And so if it's not be included in that. I don't know if it was like, well, now you're just doing like, you want,
So
right?
as a
As a
universal,
universal.
no, that would be the perfect match, and I would probably even run it by our bond legal counsel to make sure, like, you know, does this fall under our bond language?
Would it go to the bond oversight committee first and then from there?
We could do that, definitely, yeah, because it's gonna be coming out of the funds, and we have to talk to RMC about it.
Yeah.
How will that affect the other bond projects you have?
Like I said, I don't know that it would, because it was a very small amount, and it was already in there to do, so we just took care of it ahead of time. Because it really needed to be done.
I like the S and P thing, I didn't realize we shouldn't have paid that right away, we should have waited until, and we could have taken it out of the escrow when we sold the bonds, but I'm like, oh my gosh, we were paid this. So, yeah, I'll move those expenditures into the bond account. The other thing that I was thinking about, I don't know if I mentioned that we had a water leak over at the high school in the gym, and the gym floor had to be replaced.
From the ceiling or a different?
It was a line, like, going to the outside water spigot thingy.
Oh, like a pipe.
Pipe thing, and it like burst and like warped the floor.
no.
Every time, I feel like, you know, Sean comes into me and he like, doesn't want to talk to me because it's like, look, I'm showing you this. And so now I'm feeling the same way telling our base guy, it's like, now this happened. So anyway, we did get the high school gym floor refinished, and so they had to like strip it all the way down, and then they had to like air it all out so that the moisture was all gone, and then they sanded it down and put new furniture all on top. So it's really nice, but we did do a case claim with our insurance, so they always say, oh, no, it's not going to increase your rates, but we'll see what happens next year. Anyway, that was just, I don't forget to mention.
Did that happen over the summer then?
I feel like it feels like it was like this long drawn out things, but I don't think it really took that long.
They just couldn't work on it till August.
Yeah, and
And
it
so we
was,
postponed, volleyball had to be up at FCS while they waited for the floor to cure.
yeah, it hadn't cured for a long time, and then it was like, oh, they had to wait to get some, or whatever, finish or something like that, but it's just one of those things you, of course, me, I'm like, well, can't we just like, you know, put the loan in there or something?
I know it was. I remember one for you.
That's an extra tile on my garage. I was like, anyway, anything else?
I have a question about I think it's 12 million,
Which one?
one more page on page 3. Is it 12,007,000, and is that from the, like, on the capital projects, facilities capital projects? There's 12 million, I don't know.
That was, that's all.
Oh, sorry, bonds.
So the 7,000, like the interest, or just like surplus, or?
Yeah, I think it's for interest on the money that's sitting in the bank.
Okay, yeah, I was just like, oh, is this scenario, we have interest with the $1,000.
Yeah, it's, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and which is a lot more because we have more money in there. Anyway.
Sorry.
All right, any other questions for Karen? Okay, we'll move on to new unfinished business. We have a couple things to look at there. The first is our student board rep application. We have one applicant so far. We have 2 spots that are open. We try and fill them with junior or seniors. So this is a senior applicant, Nevaeh. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight. She was here last month
For the
representing
cheer.
the cheer team, so we have seen her.
she's been very excited when Dory was talking to her about the opportunity. It will be an action item. We can either approve her or postpone until next month, and then she can come and you could ask her some questions if you wanted. It's totally up to you guys what you want to do there.
I don't see a wave of applicants coming in the next while, so I say we move to approve her.
I also feel like it's good to set a precedence, that it's good to meet people before you just elect them to something. So for me, it's just that, like, I would have no problem just waiting till next month and then letting her introduce herself and then going forward and bringing her on too, so. And we might have a second one by then. We are really working to give time to junior. Yeah, it would be great to find a junior, so then we don't have them both leaving at the same time. They can rotate over, and spend 2 years on it.
How long has this been out there for them to apply for?
Just since the beginning of school year. We're in our 3rd week, so we got it out the 1st week.
Is there somebody in mind, for a junior? So-
We have someone in mind.
No. High schoolers are notorious for like seeking out opportunities like this.
Right,
Usually there's,
yes.
there's a little bit of recruiting going on.
Yes, yes, we did the last time, we went around in schools and talked with the leadership committee, or leadership class, and, it still wasn't easy getting hard to people. And usually the best ones are the busiest ones, so they're not here a lot. But yes, we would absolutely love for two of them to be here and join us when we go to our conference in November. That would be awesome. It was fun seeing all the other students there the last time, so. Anyhow, we'll do that here in a little bit with action items, and you guys can decide what you want to do there. Next up is the Bond Oversight Committee application, which we heard from Lisa a little bit ago. And hopefully you got a chance to read her application. Again, I was thrilled that somebody applied from the staff. I was a little worried. So I'm thrilled that there's a voice coming from the staff side. So any questions about that? Okay. So, moving on to action items. The first one on my list is the board student representative.
I move to postpone this action item until next regular board meeting.
That's it. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Jen, go ahead and call that.
Yes. Jeremy?
Aye.
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have our policy packet. Is there a motion to approve the policy packet as presented?
Move to approve the policy packet as presented.
Is there a second?
Can I just, real quick, I think
We
someone,
can discuss it until there's a motion on the floor, but.
I second.
Okay, so probably in a second, now you can discuss it.
I would love to discuss it now.
Yes.
Just, I noticed that, some strict weren't updated, the numbers and stuff, and there's some issues with the updated before we have one. The what? In the policy packet, was that not, in this one on page, starting on page 3, the, sorry, the headers. The footers, thank you, the footers on the bottom were not updated. So starting on page 3 and then throughout the rest of the document needs to be updated because we're taking out 11, yeah, everything needs to be adjusted, yes.
Oh, it should auto adjust once it removes. I wondered the same thing because it did it on its own in one other spot, and I had to manually do it. And so I'll make sure that OSBA adjusts the, you're talking about the numbers, right?
Yes.
The ones we put. Yeah. Sometimes it did it, sometimes it didn't, and I didn't want to break it.
Are you talking about the little footer numbers?
Yeah, so like that one
So
cases.
I see, it can't adjust until it's gone.
Yeah.
Or yes. Okay. Good on it. I don't know if you've ever known that.
That's the end of the policy.
That's detail right there.
Yeah. Okay, all right, any further discussion? We shouldn't need an amendment to change that. We should check on that.
Perfect.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Jen, go ahead and call the vote.
Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next up is the board superintendent agreement, which we had 2 choices today.
Was it you, Jeremy, who sent in some
Yeah, just some
changes, some,
verbiage change.
yeah, I liked it, I thought it was great. So, can we compare the two? No, we really can't, can we?
You can't do side
I
by
highlighted
side.
it though, which is, I think, good.
It's, yeah, the highlighted part was the language that Jeremy recommended.
Yeah, it was,
It simplified it.
yeah, it was, I think that was, the original comment was making disparaging comments about everyone there
In a
in
public.
a public setting.
Yes,
And it's
we
like,
should've
well,
seen
we
it.
should just not do it. We don't need to like specify like only publicly. And,
Yes.
the other one, and I noticed the revised one, I recommended removing the individuals will be clear that these opinions are their own, just removing that altogether. Because if we are refraining from speaking publicly, there's no need to say that those opinions are on their own, if we just don't speak publicly about controversial items at all.
Right, I agree.
That part seems kind of redundant,
It
so.
makes it wishy-washy.
Yep.
Oh, you can't talk about it as long as you declare, but you really shouldn't.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so if we can maybe
Okay.
just strike that line. If we get motion to do
So
that.
those are the two main ones. that-
Yeah, that was the only two that really just seemed like they,
So we don't need anything to change it, we can just accept the one you propose.
Okay.
Because they're both in.
with
changes.
that change,
Change on
of striking that last little bit there.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was because Ruby had made comment about the board will appoint a representative for topics, and it's like, well, if
Yeah.
that never happens, that just gets confusing to do, so.
I like it, I like fresh eyes on these things. Great. Perspective.
Thank you.
All right, so is there a motion to accept one or the other of these board superintendent operating agreements as presented?
I move to accept the 25-26 board superintendent operating agreement V2 as presented,
With the exclusion of.
with the exclusion of
That's
individuals being clear that these opinions are their own.
Okay, is there a second for that? All right, then probably move second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Jen, go ahead.
Talia? Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye. Ruby?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Just clarify, it would be a motion, the second, right?
Second. All right, the bond oversight committee application, this was Lisa that we talked to earlier. So is there a motion to accept Lisa onto the bond oversight committee?
I motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote.
Talia? Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. She's on. Does that complete our bond oversight committee then?
We did have one, yes, and that would give us 9. However, we did have one person that has a lot of conflicts on Monday nights with one of the boards that she is on.
Oh, okay.
Sue contacted me and she's not sure she can make the first one. She goes, but it looks like you've got a really good crew. So, and she just apologized all over this because if you're gonna meet on Mondays, that's just really hard for me. She's the director of Yamhill County Head Start. And she's on the board for the YCCO. And those meetings are on Mondays as well.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Well, we'll get going and yes, we can always come back here if we need to make changes. All right, do we have any topics for our next meeting? We've got some board work session stuff we already addressed, but any topics specific for our next meeting? I wouldn't mind hearing from SPED. You guys haven't really gotten to from our SPED department. Not the great SPED department.
I thought an update from Adam on how the math program is going as well. It has another, I mean, only a month in, but
So going forward, I have the 2 principals alternate on their board reports. Just because of the number of evening events they end up attending anyway. We often joke and try to remind each other whose turn it is. But that way, it's, 2 months that they are reporting, they have a chance to go over it.
And if we do a board work session with numbers, that would be a great time to bring all that data.
And we gonna do something with Shoppa as far as like some information from Shopper? Would that be for next board meeting?
They offer for November.
They have to, okay, okay.
But I think if you had any questions, you could give them to Dory, and Dory would give them over there so they can prepare for them. Yeah, I was actually going to bring up too, Shoppa loves doing tours. So if you want a tour, Dory can get you hooked up. They're phenomenal at giving tours. They just love to talk about what they're doing, which is great. So there's not a lot to see because it's online, but
Yeah.
they
It's
do
an
have,
online tour.
They have their own building.
they do have their own building.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's right here in town, so you can go there and see, and they have the daycare program.
Friends, are they there, friends?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah, and they have the CTEC stuff, right? CTE stuff that's going on, the.
They
nursing
try,
program?
they're gonna be working on that.
Okay.
That's the one they're working towards.
They're funding for it.
Early
so-
childhood.
Okay,
Healthcare and early childhood,
Yeah.
are two CTE focused.
yeah, so anyhow,
Yeah.
Jessie would love to show you guys around, and she's only down certain times too, because she's a remote worker from Washington, I think, so, yeah, so, anyhow, that's their superintendent, I think that's what they call her, right?
She's director.
Director, second director,
I don't know.
different verbiage.
I don't know if everybody else knows more, but I know very little about Shopper.
Well, she knows all about it.
So, yeah.
I know a lot about it, but that's because I did a tour, and that's where two of my children attend, so. Anyhow, moving on to board comments. Anything? I was gonna see if we could start scheduling classroom walks. I know me and Ruby have done it together, and it's been very beneficial for us to see what's going on at the classroom level, and understand like things that we're making decisions here and how those implement in the classroom, so. It's good to see all the people and the kids and what our schools are up to.
I went to the back to school night and then the high school, with the teachers and all that kind of stuff, and just noticed some things like, I noticed the site, like at FCS, the science lab upstairs, there's some like very basic, but like surface level, like ability to see things, like there were some ceiling tiles that were like physically missing from the room. And I feel like just find a closet or a space somewhere and steal a good one and pop it in there, because when all the parents come into that classroom and they see the giant hole, it's like, the gender's closet or something can have that, but we shouldn't have the science classroom or the open hole.
Residual from all the leakage we've
Yep.
had there.
Yeah, so I just, and then, you know, like there was a spot where, like for my kid was coming up on the science captain, I feel like some glue in a book over the weekend and
Right, and it would be done.
and it's just like really quick visual things that just make it look a lot nicer.
But did you notice the lights?
I did, yeah, the lights, yeah, they're fantastic, bright.
They're really great.
Yeah,
See,
they're,
everybody's-
they're certainly bright.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love the high school, all the windows and everything, like it's like such a fantastic potential. Because of the way the building's designed and the way it looks, the courtyard in the middle is great. It's just one of those things that looks like some polishing and some landscaping and some things like that, like, you know, get a club of people to bring some artists in there.
We kicked around the idea of having, like a work day.
That's what I was thinking,
Where we
a
get
board
like,
work day, right?
yeah, a load of sawdust and bark dust delivered, and we redo the beds, and we weed, and we do different things, and I was like, a lot of schools do that, where their community invests in their school, and, but it never happened. I brought it up multiple times, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it would be good to do this, a little bit of like visual, goes a long way for like the vibe.
Yep, I would help, absolutely. Yes, go for it.
Pancake Feed, their design, don't forget, at the end of the month, they have delicious cookies. My sister's driving me to home because they're that good.
I'll let my husband know,
Yes.
because he makes them.
And then, I appreciate, the new board members and all the questions and, eagerness to learn. I was very shy, but I appreciate that. Oh, it's.
Yeah, there's so
You're
much.
doing great, you're doing great.
Yeah, no, you guys are doing great. Do you have any more comments?
I don't think so right now. I do appreciate all the updates and Barbara Roberts. That's one thing I need to learn a lot more about, because I'm like jumping in. I would love to check the website, but.
Yeah, that's something we can do, just a full update over to get all of us up to speed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna be asking questions that have already been done years ago.
Right.
We can do a timeline walkthrough too. That would be Because we started before Ruby even came on, huh?
Yeah.
So,
And I haven't seen the site, I guess I haven't.
can't.
Oh, okay, okay. No,
you can drive by it.
yeah, is it like monitored as far as like, you know, the fire tower sitting there, like somebody making sure there's nobody?
There are people that walk Jefferson Street and are really good about reporting.
Oh,
And the dog park's going in.
And the dog park's going in, Rotary stores some stuff in the paint booth, so as they're going in and out. I mean, it's a minimal use, but there's enough that we keep an eye on. We have talked about cameras for the site, definitely.
And the dog park is our land.
Okay,
So,
okay.
we're not paying for the project, but we're letting them use the
And
land.
there's a paint booth there.
Yeah, they used to paint all the large equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting building.
It's big,
Yeah,
like the big rock crushing equipment built in there.
Yeah, not like car size.
yeah.
Like giant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, big. Yeah, maybe we can walk around one of these days here soon. All right, next meeting is October 15th at 6 p.m. And again, if you can't make it, that's okay, just let somebody know. I appreciate that Ray is watching his children or child play football. That's very important. Upcoming events, as you can see, there's quite a few things there. Anything you want to highlight, Dory?
No, Jen just went through and picked, like, our senior nights, where we recognize our senior athletes. It's a special thing where the parents come and they are recognized. And then the 24th being homecoming. And it is a little odd that the district is closed. I can explain that, and that the 29th and 30th are 2 12-hour days that we were able to offer conferences, and it allows us to do it in the evening. So then that Friday, we're closed, and it is a trade day. We trade that time. Some of us will still be working, and some of us get to supervise a football game that night. So on the 31st, and if you haven't been around the high school campus on Halloween, it is very busy. We have the event of Halloween Balls. I believe there could be trunk or treat, and I have worked to find out that all that will be cleared out before people start arriving for the football game. So it'll be a busy afternoon going into the evening.
I would choose to do that, too.
Which will be nice.
Did we get admission cards yet? or-
No, I have talked to Sarah about that. Your names are at the ticket booth, but we are working on admission cards, Spartan cards to get into events. Board.
You're also welcome to pay, because they can use the money, so. All right, well, that's it. So I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at 7:37 p.m. Thank you guys for coming today.